Hello, this is Arielle from Inconspicuous Bear, and I'll be narrating the heroic version of the Archimonde encounter in Hellfire Citadel from a Guardian point of view. Despite being an end boss, from a tanking perspective, Archimonde isn't really ever that particularly dangerous. He's complicated from a raid coordination standpoint, but from a tanking point of view, it's just kind of a boss and he does things. So don't be surprised if while tanking him, you're kind of not really threatened that much and you're trying to put up a little bit more damage, because the damage on Archimonde is extremely important. Whereas, obviously staying alive is important, but staying alive isn't particularly difficult on the Archimonde. So more often than not, your wipes will be due to people not doing things correctly and getting other people killed, rather than you dying to some mechanic. For positioning, the primary thing that you need to be aware of and worry about is something called Allure of Flames and or Doomfire, depending on which one you're paying attention to. So Doomfire summons a sphere thing that DPS kill. Yay, big deal. But the point is you need to drag the boss on top of it so that melee can cleave onto the sphere thing, because it needs to die sooner rather than later, because it just makes the rest of the encounter harder if you leave it up for too long. And once that's dead, Archimonde will do something called Allure of Flames, which summons all of the fire that had been previously created by the Doomfires on top of him. So when this happens, you need to move. Now, where you move is entirely up to your raid and what your strategy is. We just kind of move a little bit, kind of like ad hoc a little, sort of. So, that's what you're seeing in the video. What you do is entirely up to you, but the gist of it is, when Allure happens, you move. Allure continues from the first phase and into the entire second phase, and it's gone by the time the third phase starts. Once phase 1.5 starts, and this is only for phase 1.5, you'll see little spheres of glowy, holy stuff around the Desecrate pillars that Archimonde summons. You don't particularly care. Well, you do kind of care about the Desecrates because you don't want to stand in them, because things go horribly wrong if you do that. But the globe things that he summons are the more important, that Arielle summons when she deals with the pillars, are the more important part, because they give you a huge buff, which is really useful for reducing the damage from the death collars, which spawn as part of the taunt mechanic, which I'll get to in a second. And they also increase movement speed by a lot, which helps for getting out of Allure. So, when possible, make sure that you have this buff up for phase 1.5. Speaking of taunt swap mechanics, the one you really need to be worried about for the first two phases is called Death Brand. Every so often, Archimonde will put a debuff onto his primary threat target that will cause him to take a lot of shadow damage up front, and then like 100k every second until this ad that he summons called the Death Collar is dead. You don't really care about the upfront damage too much, because Archimonde's swings are sort of hurt, but because you're the only person taking damage, it pretty much, for most of all of phase 1 and most of phase 1.5, you'll never really notice the initial hit, nor do you need to prepare for it. What you do need to be aware of is the dot damage that goes onto you when the Death Collar spawns, because it can be amplified by something that he casts on people called Shadow Burst or something. Basically, when you are moving for allures and the Death Collar is up, be prepared to use a minor cooldown or call for an external, because your healers can't heal you because they're moving, especially in phase 2, and you are just taking a lot of damage because you're obviously running away from the thing, so you can't hit it, so you can't use your AM. It's just a whole confluence of things. Also, saving Snarling Ward for when you have to move, or a DLC proc from when you have to move, is a good idea. And hopefully your damn DPS aren't terrible and can kill this thing off pretty quickly once it spawns. Starting in phase 2.5, some ads will spawn. The one you really care about is the Overfiend, which is this demon that casts something called Heart of Argus. It has basically no HP, so it'll probably only ever get one cast off, despite what the tooltip says. But it'll only cast once. The point is, you need to interrupt the Heart of Argus, or else bad stuff happens to the raid. It may not necessarily be you, it may be the melee, but just a couple things. Don't run off and try and grab this thing, because stuff will it'll be bad. Just make sure someone misdirects it to you or brings it to you or whatever. Don't run off and try and grab it when it spawns. And once it gets to you, try and interrupt it. That's pretty much it. Like I said, it should be priority number 1 target once it actually gets to the raid, so it should get vaporized, but it'll cast at least once, maybe twice if your DPS is slow. Once you get into phase 3, the death brands will stop. Any existing death callers will remain alive, so they have to be killed pretty much ASAP, because the next talent swap mechanic is going to begin. It's called Nether Banish. Basically, on an interval, I think it's like 35 seconds or something, or 40, something like that, Archimonde will basically banish his primary threat target, and that person will get sent to another realm where they have to kill a void fiend of some kind. Anyway, upshot is positioning of the Nether Banishes is extremely important, so make sure you have a strategy for that before you get there, and make sure that the person who's on Archimonde when the Banishes are down is kind of pulling Archimonde away from the portals, or the holes, or whatever they're called, so that your ranged DPS actually have time to kill the shadows that come out of them. Otherwise, the shadows spawn on top of your raid and your raid dies. So that's bad. So make sure you're pulling Archimonde away from the banished portals. Inside the portal, the only thing you have to worry about is interrupting a cast. You'll need at least one other person to help you with that. Otherwise, the cast will get off at least once, and everyone inside the portal will take damage, which is bad. Other than that, you can try and snare the stars that spawn, but generally you're not going to be killing them. You can actually be fixated as a tank, so if one does fixate on you, make sure that you're kiting it around. Use Stampeding Roar and Dash if you have to, but make sure you don't get hit by the star, because if you do, you die, and that's probably a wipe. So don't do that. Talents are going to be the same as most of the other encounters in this instance: Feline Swiftness, Iron Ward, Soul of the Forest, Stream of Snarries, and Pulverize. There's no need to take anything else. Typhoon is good to have actually here, because it allows you to use it as a snare on the star if it gets too close, which is great. But otherwise, yeah, your talents are pretty much set, and that's your talents and your glyphs are pretty much set. You're not going to be changing them. As for guardian things that you want to make use of, I usually try to zerk on, if you are the one that starts with the boss, you'll want to zerk for the second Death Caller and Doomfire, because the Death Callers fixate, they can't be pulled off with threat, and it'll be ideal position where there's 3 targets up, so it makes a really good time to use Zerk. Again, you want to have Zerk up for one of the Reign of Chaoses in phase 3, because you'd be killing at least 1 Infernal, possibly 2, so multi-target, again, damage, good time to use it there. If you can squeeze another one in phase 2 somewhere, then do it. If you can't, just make sure you have it up for phase 3 Reign, and either the first or the second Death Caller in phase 1, depending on what your taunt order is and what your tank order is. Hope you enjoyed this video, and good luck with Archimonde. Let's go. Sword into melee again.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Fire. Everyone kill it. So Falcus, I was cutting. Chaos.
The immortal legion.
Can we move the boss up? There's fire.
You're foolish, Rizal.
Cersei break.
5, 4,
Rendar break.
2.
Davin break.
You are so easily corrupt.
Stack tight. Moving soon.
Beware.
Where's up?
Not ready yet. I can't do that yet.
Those chaoses out, please.
Look upon
Courier break.
endless forces of the
Courier. Death break.
5, 4,
Del
3,
Del break.
1.
This world will not fall so easily, demon. Its people will not give up without a fight.
Roar.
I can't cast that yet. My ability isn't ready. I need to get closer.
Killer Death Caller.
Barrington break. Furious break. Get Trank going.
You cannot escape.
Merrigan break.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You are so easily.
Help divisive, please. Thank you.
Let's interrupt.
If we get this allure, we're going to the market.
Roar.
Nasuna break. This is a
Come
break.
right Death Caller.
We'll use
First
revival
Banish,
here,
get there.
5,
and then Valk break.
2, 1.
Excellent.
Red for feedback. First Banish, go.
Rage should be killing his ads. Feedback spread.
Star. Star.
Kill it.
Stop damage up top.
Nasuna break. Del break. We'll get him going.
Feedback.
Group 2, watch
Banish
group 2.
Go.
Sarah break.
Marks. Oh no, that was not what I thought.
Feedback for
Yep. Now go.
2,
You will never escape the endless void.
It's always feedback then Banish.
Yeah, it was the shackles that I thought was the feedback.
We're gonna hit ring on the next torment. In front of the boss now, please.
I need to get closer. I'm out of range. My ability is not ready yet. I can't.
Double interrupt.
come back.
Zavin break yours first.
Stop on the ad down low. Stop.
It's
You're
gonna
gonna
die.
break yours now.
That's okay, we can wait.
Okay, don't go yet.
Alright, feedback stuff.
You finished. Go.
Area's in front
Ghost
of the
break
boss.
yours. Ghost break.
I can't.
Should be in front of the boss. Please be there
Everyone
for
to
heals.
the right side of the boss.
Hero burn.
Keep your feedback space. Don't panic.
Far away. Not still recharging.
This healer cooldown will be in top.
I have to break this right now.
Break it. Break. Go.
Aid me, champion!
Laria break
Health
your.
pots if you have.
We must survive!
Anyone left? Can't tell.
Kill the Infernal.
Oblivion draws closer.
Personals on specs.
Never! This world
Next shackle torment's gonna be him or Trank. Can we trank this one?
No, I'm dead.
Okay.
Well, basically.
We're gonna break your. Rindar break your. We have revival next.
What about mine?
Oh, break yours. Sorry, you must be out of range of me. Sorry.
Beware.